emoji?
No tricolour or shamrock present.
Any Ivory Coast emoji?
No.
Damn it.
It's got 200 likes and 9 retweets so far. And he's then subsequently, following on from that, he has retweeted the Shooters TV series finale, which is on the USA Network in the States tonight at 9 o'clock.
What does that suggest?
9 Central, 10 Eastern.
Is he thinking about Roy Keane when he retweets that?
It could be. You never know. So that's the big news of the night.
So I wouldn't say it's a quiet night, Richie, but this is what we are left with.
Bring on the Europa League.
I've just realised I haven't been following Declan Rice on
This could be... Oh, come on.
Twitter.
Is Off the Ball following him? This could be
30.8 thousand followers. He follows 411. So this is where you think the breaking news is going to be tonight.
God, I hope not. I'm going to be here late then.
I'm just wondering, is there anyone that he follows that we know that could DM him and just see what the crack is?
I'll try to have a route through his likes.
Clinton. He follows Clinton Morrison.
Oh, Clinton, mate.
So he worships Clinton Morrison.
Who doesn't?
I'd suggest he doesn't follow Kevin Kilbane these days.
Who would?
I don't know, but I don't know.
You've seen Kilbane's Twitter account's car crash.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, he follows Clinton. Let's get on to Clinton. Send him a DM. Say, all's cool. We need you, bro. Please come back.
He'd love all
30
that sort of
seconds,
stuff.
Richie. I can't believe you took up the entire news round with that.
Well, just listen, the prospect of having Declan Rice back after the
Is
week
there
we've
anything
had-
happening? Is there anything happening?
Live? No.
Okay. I'm going through...
Let's be honest.
There's nothing from Declan Rice on Instagram stories today. So...
He's preparing for something big, Nathan.
There's a statement coming, Richie. If it comes in the next hour, we'll bring it to you live. Even if it comes after that, Richie's here till midnight filling in for Tom Dunn. We can do an extended Off the Ball.
I am. If you don't happen to hear anything between 11 and 12, you know what happened, though.
Somebody... we won't even go there. Richie, great stuff.
Thank you, Nathan.
Really good news. So I think we should go down this route into Twitter speculation for the foreseeable future.
It's the way of journalism.
It literally is the future of journalism.
There's some sites have gotten a full page out of this tonight.
Namely, they're all on offtheball.com. Time for the football show.
The Football Show on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to play for my country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
All right, Keith Andrews is in studio. If you have no home to go to, you've been here since lunchtime.
I live here. No fixed about.
How you keeping?
I'm good, yeah.
You good week?
I'm glad
Well,
the break, international break, is done.
Really? Why?
Yeah, I am.
been
Because I
busy.
don't take any
Because you're a
joy.
media whore now and you've been absolutely everywhere for the last week.
Excuse you. I just don't take any joy in seeing us suffer. Like, ultimately, we have a job in the media. We give our opinion, we report on games, whatever it is. But we're fans. We want the team to do well. We take no joy in pointing out the management team do this wrong or certain players haven't done this. It's not nice. It's draining. And that's obviously on the pitch. And then what's gone on off it, it's just been one thing after another for the last couple of weeks. I'm glad it's over.
So you've been splitting your time over the last week between Ireland and England, and you're around a lot of the guys in Sky who cover all the Ireland fixtures. When they see the circus that is there, because I think Martin O'Neill was probably taken aback by the level of media interest, and maybe it's that we talk Premier League and then you have 20 journals just covering the Irish team week in, week out is one of the reasons. When they look at the way Martin O'Neill has spoken about and how a Declan Rice sag and a Harry Arter and Roy Keane and all this blows up and becomes this mega story, are they a bit shocked?
Yeah, I think so.
Do they think it's all over the top?
Yeah, I think the common denominator in a lot of these is Roy, because he's such an iconic figure in our sport and in Premier League history. I think that's probably the main kind of driving force behind this. The Declan Rice thing kicks off. I don't think there's a lot made of it in England, to be perfectly honest. I think it's just one of those things where, well, he's not ready for our first team. Yeah, what's the big hoo-ha?
We were given that example last week where I was at the game against Spurs last year where he had Harry Kane in his pocket and he was been interviewed by the journalists afterwards who were asking about his England future, and he was pointing out I play for Ireland, and there was widespread, what?
Yeah,
really?
Exactly.
Like,
and maybe he's not ready to play right now, but I've said this to you before, like, he's 19 years of age. Who's playing in the Premier League at 19 now?
Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Exactly. They're very few and far between on it, and they're playing at a high level, playing very, very well, consistently well, showing the maturity that he shows. Will he walk into the England team right now? No. 21s and with an eye view to pushing on if that's the route that he's going to take. But yeah, there was a bit of surprise as to the whole thing, but I think there's a few key components that make it go like that in England, and Roy Keane would certainly be central to that.
The fallout then from the past 10 days, and as we try and move back into the Premier League, and it'll all kick off again probably next week when we hear from Harry Arter or we hear from Declan Rice over the course of the weekend. Martin O'Neill said confidence has been restored after the 1-1 draw against Poland. You've been in these dressing rooms. Unfortunately, you've been in dressing rooms where you've had bad nights. The night of the Germany defeat at Trapattoni. Yeah. Obviously, that was followed by another performance. But is a friendly enough to restore confidence?
No, I just felt the other night it was twofold. Poland were really poor. They were lethargic. Their approach to the game was like it was a testimonial, like it was a real friendly. There was no intensity to the way they played. So that allowed us to get into a little bit of a groove. But there was more intent. I just think it's been stabilised. It's been neutralised at the moment. But everybody knows what's coming. Everybody knows the double header. The 13th, the 16th of October, Denmark, Wales. And that's going to be the test. There's no getting away from that. This is just calm things down, calm the storm a little bit, but it's still brewing.
I'd be with you in that I generally don't like the international breaks, aside from the day of the Ireland game, but you want to get back into the rhythm and the routine of the Premier League. But actually, this has been a really good international break. Like the Nations League,
I agree,
has been a proper success. And even watching Ireland-Poland, the difference from watching any of the other games that were on that night.
Yeah, nail on the head. And I think by nature, people maybe don't like change and, a new structure, what's the crack? And I don't think everybody gets all the ins and outs, the average player. I don't even think the players probably get all the ins and outs to the end game. But you're right, the level that we've seen in terms of the intensity of the games has been really, really high in the main. And you're right, on Tuesday night, the level of Poland's performance, I would suggest, more so than ours.
It was miles away from what we saw against Italy from Poland.
Poland were very impressive against Italy. Probably count themselves a little bit unlucky not to get 3 points. I think Italy have been beaten in a good few years on Italian soil in competitive games. So look, they're a decent outfit, but how much we can read into our performance against what they produced the other night up until the last 20-25 minutes. Well, having said that, we did make a lot of subs, and I thought that altered our flow as well.
Premier League is back live and off the ball this Sunday. I'm going to be alongside your mate Stephen Hunt at Molineux. I'm sure he will get a hero's welcome when he walks through the door at Molineux.
He did well for Wolves. He
scored a very important goal towards the end of the season for them.
That was against us at Blackburn. Kept them in the league. On goal difference.
That was a smashing goal. Curled in from just outside the area.
Yeah, that's right.
He had it. So he will get a hero's welcome. That's half one. They're playing Burnley. There's obviously a strong Irish interest in that. Stephen Ward maybe back. Jeff Hendrick, you assume, will play as well. And Matt Doherty started the season so well for Wolves. Didn't get the start the last night, even with Seamus coming out. Martin O'Neill's comments afterwards, I know you were talking about them on your show earlier, of he passes the ball inside a little bit too much for me at Wolves. I'd prefer to just see him driving on a little bit more, I guess, as a traditional winger. Does that line not just sum up the entire problem of Martin O'Neill's management? There's no intent to play football. If you're criticising your winger for wanting to pass the ball inside, you've got a problem.
You look at what he's up against. He's up against our captain, probably our best player when he's fully firing Seamus. I know he's got his stress fracture moment, whether he'll be back or not for October, I'm not quite sure. But you look at the strengths that they have. Cyrus Christie is like a 200-metre runner, lacking quality at times when he gets into the end area. So he does show that directness that Martin is talking about. Seamus has a really good combination of both. He can be direct, he can be penetrative, but he also has that ability to pick passes and play through the thirds. Whereas Matt Doherty, I just think he's a very accomplished footballer that shows really good kind of just a calmness to his game, even when he gets into the final third. And he may well have a point that he gets to a certain area and he cuts inside, because with the way that Wolves set up, and I've seen a lot of them over the last 12, 15 months, it's a 3-4-3. So ahead of him is a winger, stroke forward, that plays wide to start with. He rolls inside. So the option, by the time he gets into an advanced area, is his passing option is inside. And Matt Doherty hasn't got the pace and the power of a Cyrus Christie to face defenders up and go at them all the time in 1v1. Quite often, as I've alluded to, he will pass it and look to play little give and goes and little 1-2s around the opposition box, or he looks to cross. So I don't see an issue with it. But if I was Matt Doherty, I'd probably be a little bit worried, because it's looking like his face probably doesn't fit under this management team.
Well, he can become the new Wes Hoolahan, Andy Reid of the situation as to the further out he is and the better he performs for Wolves, everyone's going to be wondering why the hell isn't he here? And listen, Martin O'Neill has one hand tied behind his back with the injuries, there's no question about that, but suddenly if you had Seamus Coleman back in the side, you had a midfield of Matt Doherty, Jeff Hendrick, James McCarthy, Declan Rice, Robbie Brady. There's a lot of very capable ball players there.
Yeah, look, and I mentioned this even in the game against Wales. Look, I'm very understanding of what's missing from the team. I'm also very understanding of where our players are playing at, the level they're playing at. We don't have the level of player that we had in years gone by. Look, I'm okay with that, but I just expect a system, a style in place that these players can buy into and give a better account of themselves. That's one side. The other side is the players have to do better. The players have to take more responsibility within a game to instigate something that's going to help us get a result. Where I can't remember the last time, like last November against Denmark, tactically inept in my opinion, and I've voiced my opinion on that previously. Last Thursday against Wales, I felt we lacked aggression. Can't really remember saying that too many times about an Ireland team. Where's the intent? Where's the hunger? Where's the desire? Where's the real aggression to go and stop the opposition playing? And even if it is just, and I've been in that position, Nathan, where you just graft, you just work hard, and you might get played around. I just didn't even see any of that. There was just players playing in areas where they weren't affecting the game.
And I'm always wary of criticising players for passion. It's probably something, especially when you cover the team and you get to know some of the people involved, you realise that you do care about playing for Ireland. It does mean everything to pull on the green jersey. So when there's a lack of aggression, like that doesn't tally with that dedication to playing, which must mean there's something else. That is it a lack of confidence? Players are unsure of themselves, so therefore if you're worried about your positional sense, it's very hard to be aggressive when you're always thinking about something else.
Yeah, I just looked at it last week and I've seen a team that is very low in confidence. Where has that come from? Has that come from the media being on them, the previous last competitive game against Denmark and the manner of the defeat? Is it the management team not instilling that belief in the players, that confidence in the players? Are the players feeling that? It's not nice when, I didn't have it at international level obviously because I only played under Trapattoni, but at club level, if you know a manager doesn't like you, your face doesn't particularly fit, you're only playing by default because X, Y and Z are injured, it is difficult. It's a test of your character and your minerals and your balls to see what you're capable of. That's what it felt last week for me against Wales.
Yeah. You went through that a few times.
Yes, I did.
The last 5 clubs over the last 2.5 years.
I wanted to see different parts of England.
Yeah, of course. So Premier League then back, as Everton West Ham is the second game, so we'll have Declan Rice possibly back in the West Ham side. But on Wolves Burnley then, so Wolves maybe would it be fair to say, haven't got the points their play has deserved from the opening weeks? They got that very important late win. Adama Traore got the goal right at the end, just before the international break.
I think they're about right. They'll surprise a few teams because of the style they play. They haven't really sacrificed their philosophy, style, whatever way you want to call it, from what they did last year. I said coming up that they would be in and around mid-table comfortably. I think they're lacking top end of the pitch and they lack a quality striker to finish off the good work that they do up until that area. And the other issue I would have would be right-sided centre-half. Bennett plays there. I'm not quite sure. He's a championship centre-half in my opinion. And like Matt Doherty, as we've previously spoken about, he's even said it himself when he's been on chatting to us about positionally. So last year, they'd done so much attacking. It was a back three, whereas against big teams, this year it's going to be a back five. And how do you defend? But against Burnley, they'll be very confident of playing against a team that you would imagine will play either a 4-4-2 or Jeff Hendrick off that lone striker. There is areas where you can exploit Burnley, but I would like to go to that game. I know you're not maybe as excited because you're a bit of a purist.
No, I'm looking forward to going to Burnley. I've never been.
The top
I
teams.
I do like
you
the
do.
top
There's a snobbery in this building that I've often mentioned, but I would like to go to that game. I just wasn't invited. You asked Hunty, but it's okay.
You never know when the great games. Well, I don't know if you're going to quite get the welcome at Wolves that Hunty's going to get. Let's be honest here.
I was there longer.
But who made the real impression?
Hunty.
I think that's the bigger question. At Burnley point of view, then they're bottom of the league. Is Sean Dyche, is this the test of his managerial ability, where somehow you blank out the previous 6 weeks it was for them with Europa League and everything, and you just get into the players' heads that we'll start again?
Yeah, put that last 6 weeks in the bin. Then they hit their ceiling last year. They can't go higher than what they achieved last year in the Premier League, finishing as high as they did. They got into Europa League, the qualifying system, blessing in disguise.
Is that a difficulty for a manager, though, that like the players must know that as well? They're not going to finish tops. They're not going to play Champions League football. So, from a motivational point of view, we got to the top of the mountain from a burnt.
Staying there is
Where's
very hard.
the inspiration?
Staying there is very hard. Well, the inspiration is you need to just keep doing what you're doing. And he's the type of manager, I don't think he's going to just let players let their foot off the gas. If he sees a player not doing it, I would imagine he'll be out of the team. He looks like, and I've spoken to him, he's fairly no-nonsense in his approach. I just think it's done them a favour getting out of that Europa League. And some fans out there would say, well, that's what you work towards. But the reason I'm saying that is because they found the market so tough to sign players in, and everybody's been saying it, how inflated the prices are. Burnley quite simply cannot afford that. They haven't got the strength and depth, and over a long season, if they had to qualify for the Europa League in proper, like, they could be dragged into a relegation fight. The bigger picture for Burnley Football Club is staying in the Premier League for a sustained period of time. We went over there last year and done a little piece on
Yeah,
them.
it was brilliant.
Met all the players, met the staff. It's a Premier League club in infancy. The foundations have been put in place, training ground magnificent. Lots of work needs done on the stadium to bring it up into 2018 standards. So it's still very, very early days in their Premier League kind of era, if you like.
Does Dyche need to take a few more risks, though, if they are to, I don't know, stay at that level even, maybe not go to another level, whereby he's very slow to sign players, maybe because of the mark, but also it seems he wants a very definite type of character, that if he's to expand his resume and get offered the big gigs, that he needs to show he can work with a tricky Brazilian winger.
Yeah, look, I know where you're coming from, but if he has, say, okay, maybe that one luxury player, how does that one luxury player fit into the vast majority of other players and their work ethic and ethos? And if that one player, for instance, sign a player for 30, 40 million quid, which would be like, wow, Burnley have just signed a player for 30, 40 million. If he is producing, I think that like spine of the team, the kind of the workers and the vast majority of the dressing room, they'll suck that up.
They'll respond to it.
As soon as that one player isn't producing and he becomes a luxury and you're running around like blue arse flies, then that's when problems arise.
Yeah. Everton West Ham then is another interesting game. Everton obviously have quite a few injury problems over the international break. Seamus Coleman's going to be possibly missing for 4 or 5 weeks.
Disaster.
Theo Walcott is missing this week as well, who started the season quite well. What's Everton's ceiling from what you've seen from the first month?
I've seen them twice. The first two games at Goodison Park, actually. First of all, I think the balance of the team is a lot better than what we've seen last year. Last year, some of the stuff I've seen from Ronald Koeman in early parts of the season, I was like, wow, this is tactically inept. It really is. Played Sigurdsson, Wayne Rooney and Davy Klaassen as the three players behind Calvert-Lewin as a striker, all number 10s, so they all want to come into a congested area. Just didn't work. The balance of the team flicking between that and a back three, and it was all over the place. We know what way the Sam Allardyce reign went. Steady the ship, see you later. The team looks more balanced. Some of the players are just coming up, like we haven't seen. Dyche just played the last game that I was at, played quite well. There's still very much work in progress, getting up to speed. Mina hasn't played yet. Whether he's available this weekend, I'm not quite sure.
There was talk that after Richarlison, the way he played for Brazil during the week, that maybe they could start playing him as the out and out, almost as a number 9, becoming more the striker, because that still seems, even with Calvert-Lewin there, Cenk Tosun hasn't really...
I think he's looked sharper this year in the 2 games I've seen him. When I seen him last year, I thought you're struggling to deal with the tempo of the league, maybe fitness as well. Obviously pre-season work and the out and out number 9. The only real kind of Nias and Calvert-Lewin, that's the only competition he has. I think he's looked sharper than he did last season. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts finding the back of the net.
There's obviously a lot of pace there when everyone's available with Walcott and Richarlison. Marco Silva's style of play, is it possession based, or are they trying to catch teams on the counter?
I think it's a mixture. They look to keep possession, centre halves drop out, but they do look to try and play forward quickly at the right time. Schneiderlin's been the holding midfielder. Trissagana Gay when he's fit, and vice versa with Schneiderlin as well. Tom Davis has deputised a couple of times, but the balance is right. So I mentioned those 3 players in Rooney, Sigurdsson and Klaassen. Those 3 players were Walcott on the right when he's fit, Richarlison on the left, and Sigurdsson, who hasn't really caught fire yet. I just think the balance of the team looks way better.
West Ham, 4 defeats from 4. I said Burnley were bottom. Actually, West Ham are bottom. Burnley are second from bottom. And Manuel Pellegrini is a Premier League winner. They spent a lot of money during the summer. But is that we got to the international break, I've had everybody in training for a little bit of time, you figure out what your best 11 is? Or is West Ham such a basket case of a club right now that you worry about where this could go?
Yeah, the latter, I would suggest. Haven't seen them live. I just don't know what they are, Nathan. I really don't know what they are. You look at the game, we covered it during the international break, Ukraine against Slovakia. Yarmolenko doesn't look match fit, looks overweight in my opinion. He's probably a little bit of a cannon.
They paid 18 million for him. Looks very much like, we've heard of him, we've tracked him, he was very good at Dynamo Kiev. Alright, he didn't do much at Borussia Dortmund last season, but 18 million, it's not much. Maybe he's the type of player who just comes alive. And then actually, no.
But there's too many of those, in my opinion. Arnautovic last year was sensational at times. Go back the year before at Stoke, he was a disgrace. His work ethic alongside Shaqiri was a big reason why they went down. Like the year before, Shaqiri was the year before that. The two of them in the same team. You're playing with 9 men. So the point you made about Burnley, getting that marquee, that special player in, pushing the boundaries, you need to be very, very careful. Look at West Ham now, and you chuck Jack Wilshere into that equation, the lack of legs in midfield, the first game of the season. I did think Declan Rice got hung out to dry by being the younger player, and Noble in there as well. Defensively don't look sound at all. The gaps are being exploited time and time again. I think it's a tough time. And would we rule out a Sam Allardyce, David Moyes type figure coming in 2, 3, 4 months to steady the ship again, keep us up? That's great.
You've had them already.
Exactly. Well, it could be where they are. It could be where they are as they strive for this football that they had in the 60s and 70s. It's not as easy as that.
Most people feel didn't even exist in the 60s and 70s.
We went around our way, it's hearsay.
Alright, so those 2 games live and off the ball, we're on air from 1 o'clock on Sunday. Dave and Kev are going to be at Goodison Park for that one. But the big game of the weekend is the early game on Saturday. Liverpool against Spurs. It's one of those games you kind of don't want it at 12:30 on a Saturday morning after an international break, where you're wondering just how fit everybody is. Already we're seeing that Hugo Lloris is going to be missing for Tottenham for this game. Dele Alli's going to miss it as well. Like, Liverpool have been pretty much flawless from the start of the season. Is this at Anfield, Liverpool just kicking on?
Well, Liverpool are favourites, no doubt about it. From Liverpool's perspective, they look to me now a team that have the ability to grind out a result when not playing particularly well. They can find ways of winning games. They look like they're solid. And we know the signings that they've made to the team have strengthened that defensively. Gomez alongside Van Dijk has looked very, very well. But even if the front three aren't firing on all cylinders and a team is camped in, I'm not saying Spurs will be camped in this week.
Yeah. Well, I should mention it is at Wembley. Actually, it's not at Anfield, which Spurs destroyed Liverpool at Wembley last year.
I just can't see it happening again.
No,
I really can't. No.
There was that brilliant clip, I don't know if you saw, of the friendly of the game between Holland and France, where you had Mbappe up against Virgil van Dijk, and Mbappe puts the burners on, and he must have felt like it was an outer body experience, because he is going, one of the quickest players in the game, going at full speed, and Van Dijk looks like he's just in a slow jog, but is keeping up with him every step of the way, and then gets in this perfectly timed tackle.
Nathan, he sauntered over to him. Like, as soon as I seen it 1v1, I was actually thinking, oh shit. Because there's space to run in behind. There's only one winner here. He dictated where Mbappe was going. No problem. Timed the tackle in the 18-yard box to perfection. And I just think that, obviously, the attributes that he has, but that is confidence in your own ability to come up against one of the best attacking players in world football and just deal with him.
Is there still another level, though, for Van Dijk? There's the accusation, and maybe it was there before the international break as well, against the game against Leicester with the mistake from Alisson, but also Van Dijk's general attitude that he can be sloppy at times, he can be a bit too casual with the ball. Yeah,
I think it's probably fair enough to say that. I just think it's his demeanour at times. I think one of his biggest things he's going to have to focus on, which he should probably speak to the likes of Hansen and Lawrenson about this, is concentration levels, because at times Liverpool are going to be very dominant this season, so him as the leader at the back is going to have to keep on his toes and keep his team organised in front of that to stop counter-attacks. And if the game becomes a little bit too easy, I think that maybe creeps into his game, because he has got that. We've seen it at times at Celtic and Southampton where he can become a little bit sloppy because the game is so easy for him.
All right, good stuff. Thanks a lot for coming into studio, Keith. The Keith Andrews Show is live on all our social channels every Thursday lunchtime, and they had a really good show today. It's up on offtheball.com right now, talking about all the fallout from Ireland and Harry Arter and Declan Rice. They had Phil Egan and Andy Reid in the studio, and also a really interesting conversation with Liam Lawrence, who's had his fair share of run-ins with Roy Keane. We're going to play you that next.
I'm sorry, you can sit there and look and play with all your silly machines as much as you like.
What does that mean?
Fit to spit?
I don't really know what you mean.
Angry, upset, frustrated, steaming.
No.
Only in sex masochism. Then it is allowed.
Well, I appreciate you not pulling my hair, thank you.
Okay.
Where did this ferocious determination out there today come from?
The media. Every one of them wrote us off.
Somebody's out to get me. We've been shagged by Dublin. We've been ridden rock solid by people in Dublin.
Had you known more pressure on you, more questions about you in your 19-year tenure here?
Nah, it's absolute bollocks.
Did you think coming in with a 69 that you could even consider yourself 6 shots back?
It's the first round of the golf tournament. Just calm yourself. There's an awful long way to go yet.
Hurry up, man.
Jack Wallace, congratulations.
What is it, Brendan?
What would it be? Let me think. I'm not sure. I'll have to think about that one. Think about it deeply.
Clear you're not going to draw me in it, and you have a look at all the facts, you'll see I've no comment to make.
You've made your name as a wheeler and dealer. There's not been much wheeling and dealing, has there?
No, I'm not a wheeler and dealer. No, that's not.
Oh, no, I didn't mean it like that.
Don't say that. I'm a fucking football manager.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app, with hundreds of pre-live and in-play football markets. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
The Pat Kenny Show.
On tomorrow's programme, as well as all the breaking news, why some people in rural Ireland want to drink and drive. Jess Kelly investigates how gamers get hooked, and the Premier League is back. We'll be looking ahead to all the weekend sport.
The Pat Kenny Show.
With MasterCard.
Tomorrow morning at 9.
On News Talk.
Experience Control GX from Just for Men. The first shampoo with a brain. What makes it so smart? It reduces grey the same way it grows in. Gradually. The more you shampoo with Control GX, the less grey you have. Just use it until you like what you see. How smart is that? Gradually reduce grey with the first shampoo with the brain. Find Control GX in leading supermarkets and Irish pharmacies nationwide.
Computer, what services do CBRE offer?
CBRE are Ireland's largest commercial real estate firm and provide the following services: asset services, residential capital markets, agency leasing and healthcare real estate.
OK, computer, thank you.
I'm not finished, Liam. Building consultancy, investment management, valuation and advisory.
Visit cbre.ie to find out how our 750 industry experts can help unlock the full potential of your commercial property. CBRE. Build on advantage.
If you watch sci-fi shows on a TV, then you must have a TV licence. It's the law. That's just one of the terms and conditions of life in Ireland. Other terms and conditions include possessing a supernatural interest in Area 51, using the power of your mind to understand teleportation and parallel universes, and knowing who's who in your favourite alliance against alien invaders from galaxies far, far away. Which is basically a way of saying that if you enjoy streaming or watching sci-fi shows on a TV, at home or at work, but don't have a TV licence, it's time to use the Force. So get yours at tvlicence.ie or at any post office. Brought to you by the Department of Communications, Climate Action and Environment.
A business needs to be creative to stay ahead of the game. And creative brains need space to think. Give them space. Think better. But let's do it with a little style. Castleknock means business. Discover more at castleknockhotel.com.
Imagine a free festival in the heart of the city, celebrating all of the colour of Dublin's new cultures. Now picture yourself in Smithfield Square at Dublin International, enjoying live music and cultural performances, kids and teen zones, workshops and exhibitions, plus delicious food from around the world. Dublin International, Saturday, September 15 from 2 to 8 p.m. in Smithfield Square. Proudly sponsored by Dublin City Council and the Arts Council. See Blue Fire Dublin on Facebook and bluefirestreetfest.ie.
Looking for a top-quality Irish-made mattress that doesn't cost the earth? With dedicated sleep experts to help you find the best mattress for you. And free delivery on a huge range of mattresses. Well, for this weekend only, get to the Harvey Norman 4-day mattress sale with up to half price off across our entire range. So for the best deals and lower prices, the Harvey Norman mattress 4-day sale is now on. But hurry, must end Sunday. Snooze or lose.
Go, Harvey, go!
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
You're very welcome back to Thursday night's football show. We have a busy weekend of football coming up as always on Off the Ball. We have all reporters at all the grounds on Saturday. We'll have reaction to that early game between Spurs and Liverpool. Dan McDonnell and Kieran Cunningham will be in studio as well. And then those two live games, Premier League back and Off the Ball this Sunday. I'm going to be with Stephen Hunt at Molineux for Wolves against Burnley. That's at 1:30. And then at 4, Dave and Kev will be at Goodison for Everton against West Ham. Shortly, we're going to hear the best of Keith Andrews' conversation with his fellow and former Irish teammate Liam Lawrence. But first, all this week, we've teamed up with Subway, lead sponsor of the NFL London Games, for your chance to win a brilliant prize. We want to send you to see the Tennessee Titans take on the LA Chargers on October 21st at Wembley Stadium, and we'll sort you out with €500 to cover travel and accommodation as well. To be on the chance of winning, just tell us, what is Tom Brady's jersey number? Text your name and answer to 53106 for 30 cents, and we'll announce the winner later on in the show. It's all with thanks to Subway, lead sponsor of the NFL London Games. See subway.ie for more details. Right, let's listen to how Keith got on with Liam Lawrence.
Joining us on the line is Liam Lawrence, former Irish international. Liam, you're in the studio the other night doing the game for Sky Sports News, the Ireland against Poland game. So after a dismal performance against Wales in Cardiff on the previous Thursday, I thought there was some signs of positivity coming from that performance in Poland.
Yeah, me too. I thought the new lads did really well, applied themselves really well. I thought the whole team worked really hard, to be fair. I was a bit sceptical of how they'd press and how they'd play, having, tried to press Wales at times and got picked off. I thought they wouldn't go there and do that, but they did. They pressed, even from goal kicks. They went man for man, and it seemed to work. They seemed to stifle Poland, and they did well. Anyone in particular impress you? I liked Dowda. Egan at the back, he was like a rock at times, and obviously the goal scorer Brian, I thought he did really well as well. So you were in Sky Sports News studio with Jim White. I can't believe he's 61, by the way. He's looking well for his age. And you were chatting about, obviously, the altercation with Roy going back to Sunderland days. But before we get into that, just tell us a little bit about the background of Sunderland. You moved to from Mansfield. Good move. Fans' favourite. I think you were runner-up to Dean Whitehead and Player of the Year. You got relegated. And then I think Big Quinny was in charge, wasn't he, for a little bit of few weeks before Roy came in. But tell us a little bit about when Roy took over. Like, what were your initial thoughts, or maybe the players' feelings of this legendary, iconic player taking his first steps into management? Well, it was a weird one for me, because my family's Man United, and obviously growing up I watched a lot of Man United, and he was one of my idols. So for him to be coming in and being my gaffer, it was like a dream come true, if you like. He used to join in training, and he was absolutely ridiculous. He was phenomenal. But his standards were that high, and I think he was used to, players of United calibre. I think he got frustrated quite quickly with some of us, So he came in the August time. You were kind of in and out of the team up until maybe November. So before that altercation that you did have, row that you had, whatever way you want to call it, like, was there any grumblings between you and him? Had this been coming, or was it kind of out of the blue? No, it was pretty much out of the blue. Obviously, I was in and out of the team. I think we'd been beat the week before it all kicked off with me and him. And I'd not played that well. That's probably why I wasn't involved in the training session. So I didn't see it coming, no, but I was young and hot-headed myself, and I always stood up for myself. I always have done. And when this happened in training, and I was just stood watching in the cold, I just thought, no, this can't happen. If I'm going to be stood here, I'd rather go in the gym or do something active. Do you know what I mean? So it all kicked off. And, you know, I'm not saying anything that's not already been in his book. You know what I mean? So things happened, and, you know, I was away the next day after the argument we had.
So for anybody that's not quite aware of like training ground kind of scenarios, and it was an 11v11. Obviously, there was more than 22 players in and around training that day, so you were left on the sideline. And this quite often happens, does it, with mainly younger players? You very rarely get it with established senior players, which you obviously were at that time. So understandably felt a little bit annoyed, and then so goes inside, and then in his office, and he's mentioned, as you've already said, in his book, and he quite admired you for the way you stood up to him.
Yeah, well, as you've touched on there in training, you do the 11v11s, and usually it's either trialists or kids that sort of sit out and watch while the lads are training. So it was hard for me to swallow watching it and being involved in that. So I started walking in, he started shouting at me. We've argued a little bit. I've carried on walking in. He's told me not to, and pleasantries were involved in all that. And then obviously I've gone in. We've had a massive argument in his office, nearly come to blows and stuff. So the next day, literally as I was leaving, he just said, look, this was a Thursday, by the way. So as I'm leaving his office, he's just said, keep your phone on. That's you done. So I got in the car, spoke to my agent, and the next day I'm down at Stoke. So
there was no signs of this. Like sometimes, you know, I've had loan moves where it happens quite quickly, but in the background, you know, your agent's speaking to you about, look, such and such might be interested in you. But this has come just out of the blue, and maybe because of the volatile nature of him and you standing up to him. And I think he's mentioned as well that it was the first time a player really stood up to him in that fashion.
Yeah, I didn't see it come in. That's for sure. There was nothing in the background going on. Because I was young as well myself, and like I said, hot-headed, and I was in and out of the team, I was already kind of getting frustrated. So when this happened, for me, it didn't matter that it was Roy Keane. I didn't care. It doesn't matter who the gaffer is. If I don't agree with something, then that's just my way. So no, I didn't see it coming, and it did happen really, really quickly. And in hindsight, it was a great thing for me because I went on and played the best stuff that I've played at Stoke.
So he's obviously been in the news with the Harry Arthur, John Walters. Martin was the one who actually brought it up pre-international meet-up a couple of weeks ago. So it certainly hasn't helped things. Then we had the unfortunate incident where Stephen Ward's WhatsApp got leaked. Naive on his part, of course, and he should quite rightly feel betrayed that it's got out, certainly between friends. But when you listen to what's said and what he's saying, and I don't think Stephen Ward in any way is being inflammatory about the way that Roy is. Can you see it though? So you've obviously witnessed it firsthand. So can you see where Stephen Ward is coming from on it?
Well, I don't think he's lied at all, because of them things that has been said, and Ward, he said that he's heard, they were said to me when we were sat in the office and he sat across from me and we were arguing. The C word must have been mentioned, I'm not kidding, 30 times before I stood up and went up to walk out. So I can see that he's probably said them. I just think football's changing so much, mate, and the world's changing so much that he should know by now that you can't go speaking to people like that. There's a certain way how to speak. We've spoke about it before, the modern day footballer and stuff. You have to know your players and how to handle players and how to speak to players. And I think he's obviously just gone about it the wrong way.
Yeah. So the incident that happened with you was 12 years ago now. It's hard to believe it's that long. So now, firstly, he's not actually the manager, which has been pointed out by Harry Arthur, by all accounts, allegedly via Stephen Ward's leaked WhatsApp. And secondly, you've just touched on it. Players are different. Society is different. So this type of shenanigans, it just shouldn't be going on, especially from an assistant manager. I can't remember in my time, in 20 years playing football, of an assistant manager that was that antagonistic, that was that way inclined. What's your take on him now as the assistant manager?
It's hard because it's international. You know, if it's at club level, and if an assistant manager would have spoke to me like that, we would have probably been rolling on the grass. But because it's international level and because it's Roy Keane and everything that comes with it, I think maybe the lads have sort of accepted it, if you like. But you just can't do it. We've just touched on it there about society and how you speak to people these days and the words that you choose. You've got to be so careful. And I don't know what character Ariarte's like. I know what Johnny Walters was like, and he obviously he didn't take it. So just know your players and how to speak to them and how to handle them. And it just seems that when Roy gets angry or when he doesn't agree with something, it just comes out and he just attacks and gets aggressive. And he's got to learn from doing things like that. You can't carry on doing that.
Another sideshow to this international get-together has been the Declan Rice saga. Now, Kevin Kilbane, who was on here a couple of weeks ago, was very strong in his stance about it. He would view things slightly different to me. So I referenced you actually in a point I made, just because you'd been on the show a couple of weeks ago and we've been talking. And I said, look, take, for example, someone like Liam Lawrence. I don't have a clue what your Irish backgrounds are. It's not like when you come into the Irish camp, sit down and you get interrogated and interviewed and are you genuine? The point I was making was that as long as they come in, they're genuine, they're committed and they do a good job and they really integrate, which you did really well, then I didn't have a problem with it. So what's your stance on Declan Rice at the moment? Can you understand the predicament that he has?
No, not really. I remember when I was coming in with you guys for the first time, I was scared to death because I didn't know if I'd be accepted. I didn't know what the atmosphere would be like. But once I made that decision, the Irish background, by the way, is on my dad's side. Just so you know.
Cheers for the clarity.
But once I made that decision, there was never ever any doubt ever from that moment what I wanted to do. And there's been players in the past that have done this over the last few years. I think Jermaine Pennant was one as well, wasn't he?
And Grealish being the prime example, wasn't he?
Grealish as well, and these sort of players. You can't make a decision and then go back on it just because you want to go and play for somebody else. I don't agree with it at all. Once you've made that decision, stick to it, because people like yourselves and the nation of Ireland will lose all respect.
Yeah. Well, listen, just looking forward to next month. We've touched on the Wales performance. We've got Denmark and Wales next. What are you anticipating? Because I think it's, to a degree, the other night's result has just calmed things down a little bit. But there's obviously still bigger issues here at stake. Now, let's not forget, Wales destroyed us and Denmark comfortably beat Wales on Sunday.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be a tough 2 games coming up, that's for sure. I do think there were positives from the other night that they'll take, especially defensively. Against Wales, we were far too open and there was far too many gaps down the side of the centre halves. But it seemed a lot better the other night. But again, they've got a massive test in Denmark, haven't they? I mean, they've got rights to put wrong from last time. So it's going to be a tough ask, but we'll see what happens. They need to get a fully fit squad as well and hope this Roy Keane thing blows over.
Before you go, Liam, I just want to touch on, because we didn't get time the last time we ran out of it, I just want to touch on Stoke. So, relegated from the Premier League, lots of comings and going. Obviously, Gary Rowett instilled as the new manager, sitting 18th in the Championship at the moment. Obviously, our prime focus from this side is looking at James McLean and how he does, and unfortunately he's out injured at the moment. How would you assess their start so far?
Well, I'll just touch on James. He's just starting to find his feet. It was a little bit slow at first, but he said he needed his match fitness and he said he needed his games. And to be fair, the last couple of games, he's looked sharp. He's looked back to his best, like back to his old self. From a Stoke point of view, I don't know if the losing mentality is just rife through the club, but something's not right. I said last year they needed to get rid of about 10, 11 players. They haven't got rid of that many. And it just seems to me that something's still not right in the club. I spoke to someone inside the club at the West Brom game the other week, and they said they've got rid of most of the bad eggs now that they need to get rid of, and they're looking forward to try and move on with things. But again, the performance against West Brom, the last game, wasn't good enough. So I'm doing the Wednesday game at the weekend, so I'll have to have a look and see what's happening.
Liam, listen, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it. We'll catch up with you in the next couple of weeks.
Cheers, Keith.